Disclaimer. The views and opinions expressed in this program are those of the individual speakers, commentators, guests, experts, and our hosts. They do not explicitly or necessarily reflect nor represent the network broadcaster channel and/or program's policy or the views held by this network broadcaster channel or program. The network broadcaster channel or program cannot be held accountable for all or any views expressed during this program.
Hello. Welcome back, everyone. It is Fem Talk Tuesday. How is Fem Talk Nation doing out there? We are so glad you are here. And yes, we are live, but we really have a live show today. I'm going to bring on the ladies of Fem Talk, and we're going to talk about what we're doing this evening. We've got Dr. Melissa and Shima She Talks.
Hello, Fem Talk Nation. How are you today?
Hello, Dr. Melissa.
Hi.
Hello, Shishi.
I think I might have been muted. I'm gonna say that again. Hey, Fem Talk.
Nice. Awesome. So tonight, everyone, we are going to be airing live or commenting live as the debate is happening. So make sure that you stay tuned in here if you want to get all of the insights here on the debate. But before we do that, tonight we want to tell you why it is so important for you to get out there and vote. And not only voting for the presidency, but to do your downvotes, which means in your localities, in your states as well. So for your school boards, for your local council people, you want to make sure that you're voting. And I just want to put this out there before I hand it over to one of you ladies. But that's where we can really affect change, right? Is when we are voting in our local communities and we're understanding what's happening in our local communities and start to spread, some transitioning and change happening in our own towns, cities, and states before we think about the presidency, right?
I would totally agree. I think it's, the being on a school board, and that's usually the beginning, grassroots, is school board and being a part of so many different school boards. I understand the effect that just 9 people or 7 people or 5 people can have on a whole town.
Yeah.
And that's where it starts. And most of the time, if you're looking for, if you're thinking about, going on to higher places in government, that's where it starts. That usually then leads to city council, and then city council leads to maybe state congressperson, and then state congressperson leads to state appointments and different things like that. So it is where it starts.
Yeah.
And they affect your current, they affect your current taxes, your current, things that go right towards your mortgage. Think about it that way. So that's a direct effect, city, local government. So yeah, get out there and vote. Right now, I know in New Jersey, the local votes don't happen until November. Most of those towns, you vote on, school boards in November, but get to know those and get to know who's running for city council and get to know all of the other things. Today I was looking up state stuff, who's running for state senator, who's running for lieutenant governor, who's running for governor. In Delaware, we have a gubernatorial election today. In November. So all of those things matter.
It does. And I can remember when I was living in New Jersey in a specific town, and I won't name the town, but I was living next door to one of the councilmen, right? And really got to understand like all the different ordinances that you have in your local government and how those councilmen affect those ordinances. And you mentioned one of them, right? Like the taxes and how your taxes for your homes get affected, and different things, and how your school board is affected, right? By the budgeting there in the town. So it makes a big difference. And if you really want to know and really get involved, that's where you start. And like Dr. Melissa said, you often, as a voter, right? Forget, yourself being in government if you're not interested in that. But as a voter, you get to see who starts to climb the ladder, so to speak, as they move on to different positions and they go higher from their local government to their state, right? And on to Congress, like you said. And
Yeah.
you have the ability to affect change when they start, right? If you're starting in your locality.
You see intention. You see, I always say,
Yeah.
tell people to just watch what they do. Watch what their intentions are. Some are good and some aren't. And I think when you see people at the grassroots level, you get a better understanding of who they are.
Yeah.
And you see if they really care. I mean, some of them do, but some of them don't. They're
Yeah.
just looking for, recognition, and it's. I'm a big believer. People are looking for power. They're not looking for money. They're looking for power.
Self-serving. I was trying to say that self-serving attitude. I'll do this a little bit so that I can get what I want, which is normally power or money or both.
But that's not always the case, right? When you look at the people who really want to make changes, and especially those people who are grassroots and they are involved in the community, and you see them out in the community doing right. They're not just on the docket. They're actually out in the communities working.
Yeah.
So
working and doing something.
Yeah.
There was this one person I was reading up on today, and in his company, what he started, he has a construction type of company, but in his company, he now gave everybody that worked for him the ability to figure out the ability to build their own homes and to create their own home ownership.
Right.
And he's now running for a local seat. And I said, now that's somebody I'm interested in voting for. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
He understands at a very local level the importance of empowering people. I mean, we're talking about, that could just run into the debate information, but, one of the things that people I know I'm looking for is somebody who is sensitive to the everyday person, right? Cares about the everyday livelihood of people. I never forget when somebody asked, what's a gallon of milk? How much does a gallon of milk cost? And, depending on who you are and what you and who you connected to, you may not know.
That's right.
Yeah.
But everyday person that's trying to make it, make ends meet, they know how much a gallon of milk costs and how much a gallon of gas costs. So,
and those are the people that you're trying to govern. So there has to be a connection there. You have to have some kind of tie to their livelihood, not just And I wasn't saying that that's everybody's agenda, but you could getting to know them, getting to know what they stand for and what they're fighting for and why they're doing what they're doing will help you decide whether they're going to be for you or the everyday man or for themselves.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. I can remember, and Shima can attest to this as well. And I was always impressed. I didn't live in the city, so I didn't know everything that the city needed. But I can remember going to events in Paterson, New Jersey, and watching the mayor there, how he communed with the people, all people, and he conversed with everyone that he could find in his reach. Now, I don't know him personally, and I didn't know what the city really needed because, like I said, I wasn't living there. But just to see him out amongst the people at most events that you go to, and he's conversing with all people, right? That's impressive to me, and then if you're actually living in the city, then you have to take a look at, okay, what's their agenda? What are they looking to do for the city? But the fact that the mayor could come out and be amongst all people and converse with all people and be able to commune with all people, right? That's a big deal. It's a big deal.
It's a real big deal.
Yeah.
And I think that you want that from not just you. You want it from any person in politics. You want people to people. Like, what are you running for? That's why so many people in politics, in government, even those that are in some kind of authority, they have, you hear often their duty to go and do different things. That they're reaching out and participating in people's lives and in some way, shape, or form.
Yeah.
So I think it's important to kind of look into those kind of things as you seek who you want to govern you.
Absolutely. All right. Well, we have to move over to you know what time it is. Hot topic. So I'm gonna let you take this one away, Dr. Melissa. Take this first one away.
Oh, woo. When I saw it, I mean, I went. You know me. I went ballistic because this happened literally. We were, this is first Sunday football, so the TV was on in my house at 10, watching all the shows that talk about what games are coming up. Yeah. And in the middle of it, actually my son ran upstairs and said, they just arrested Tyreek Hill. I said, what? And he immediately had it on. He said, okay, they released him. And I was like, what happened? And then the story began to come out. Because of, thank God, of his notoriety and how fast it happened, they just released a video on it. So the video's out. I watched the video this morning. It is horrific what they did. But even after, as soon as it happened, because it said, my son said, they stopped him for a traffic violation or something like that. And I said, why would you have to handcuff anyone for a traffic violation? Who does that? And they had Stephen A. Smith on today, and he was saying, when somebody, you was just mentioning, Tracy, when somebody stops you, you're supposed to do this and that. That's what Black people do.
We do.
Let's just be honest. That's what we do when we get stopped because we don't want to be killed.
Right.
That is not what the average Caucasian person does. No. Nor the put this because they don't get that kind of treatment. Heck, we had mass murderers that got better treatment than we get with a traffic stop. And he was pleading with them, watch out, I just had surgery on my knee, not knowing who he is. Two of his teammates stopped and they handcuffed one of them.
Yes.
Two of his two teammates saw it happening, got out, and they pushed him away. And one of them was like, "This is Tyreek Hill. You don't know who he is." Mm-hmm. And they handcuffed the other teammate also. For what?
And can I say this too about what you just mentioned? When it comes to the commentary, right? I know that that's what Black people have to do, right? Because that's the reality that we live in. But when you have a stage and when you are condoning, right, that's what we have to do. And I'm putting up my quotes. I don't think that's what the stage should be used for.
No.
Right? Because it's not right. It's not right that that's how we have to act, right, in order for us not to get hurt or killed by police officers. And when you have, you're a person of influence, start to use that influence for something good. The way that I read the article about what Stephen A. Smith had to say, it was as if Tyreek Hill was at fault. And he wasn't. That you have to roll down your windows and you have to put your hands on the steering wheel and you can't question the police about why they're stopping you or them banging on your window and you can't comment. That's absolutely ridiculous because any other culture would be able to say those things without harm.
Yeah.
So when we as people of influence, right, when we're on these platforms, we need to do better because that's not the way it should be. And we shouldn't write it off as if there's something wrong with the way he responded to being stopped.
It sounded like the brush off, like, just do what you're supposed to do, dude. Right. But this is your opportunity to say, this is what we're supposed to do because we want to live. Right. But is this right? Why not engage the public to think, you guys do that because we don't.
Right.
Well, no, we don't. And you heard the police officers came at him.
Right.
They started banging his window. He said, "Yo, yo, yo, what you doing banging on my window like that? Turn your window down. Hey, watch out, watch." Because they came very aggressively to him. He didn't know why he was stopped.
Yeah.
They came out very aggressive, and he was like, "Yo, this is an expensive car. Are you kidding me? Well, get out. I'll show you. I'll show you." And then they started using, how do you say, colloquial type of phrases.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, brother. Oh, well, it was very
disrespectful,
and condescending. How they and you want to go toe to toe?
Right.
I'll show you toe to toe.
Yeah. That's how they care for my knee. I just had my knee done. Well, you'll open your window the next time, won't you?
Won't you?
Oh,
so ridiculous.
So it's gonna be a next time, and because I didn't open it this time, you're gonna damage me.
Yeah.
You were saying
you're gonna hurt him.
Okay. And
I mean, and they kicked him. The one cop kicked him. I was like, 3 of them around him for a check. They said you was drive. They said we got a call. Got a call. None of them saw it. Got a call that they saw him driving. They said erratically, something like that. He's probably swerving in and out of traffic trying to get to the game.
Right.
He was going to work. He hasn't sped up trying to get where they trying to go.
Right.
And his knee in his back.
And I just want to go back to Nick's comment too, right? Where he was saying when Tyreek was interviewed, he said, "What if I wasn't Tyreek Hill?" Right? They make this once they get to the point where they know who you are, then they back off, right? Mm-hmm. But if I'm making money and if I'm doing something that suits you, right? If I'm bouncing balls or throwing balls for you and that
it's all good.
Then it's all good, right? But if they didn't know, or if he wasn't who he was, it would have been a different scenario.
Say he was just a normal billionaire black man.
Mm-hmm.
And nobody, he owns companies, so nobody don't readily know his name.
Mm-hmm.
Right? They would have kept on doing what they were doing.
Yep.
It would not have stopped. And because again, what helped him was that his teammates came and some of the people walking by was like, "That's Tyreek Hill. What are you doing?"
Yeah.
And he tried to call. I don't know who that person's. He said his name several times. Had him on the phone. The phone was on the ground, and he was not hanging up. Now, what the cops did not do, they didn't, step on the phone, hang up the phone, but they quickly tried to get him away from the phone. But he was hollering out.
I think it was his agent. I think it was trying to tell him to tell the agent because the agent, took over.
Yeah. And it's just ridiculous. I go back to that comment that I made because what if that's the average black man, right? Like you just said. Then what? This should not be acceptable under any circumstances.
Right. Well, I do have to say in my own situations when I get pulled over like that, I don't care if I'm not. And this may be because I'm black or a woman or whatever, but I don't care if I'm in the car alone. If I'm not on the phone, I will get somebody on the phone immediately. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Like as soon as I see the lights, somebody got to be on that phone, and I'll put it down. But I know that there are police out there who are going to protect me, but I also know that there's some out there who don't care for my color, my gender, my mouth.
Right.
So I got to be realistic here. I know what this is, but it goes both ways.
Yeah.
You should understand that you have a responsibility.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Absolutely.
Everyone, not just to who you think is worthy of protection or a responsible treatment, I should say.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It's just terrible. Unfortunately, it is a hot topic, and we were just talking about being careful, who you're voting for. This is part of the things that people are voting for. This election, this is people, and it's about to come on. And one of the things that I'm very much interested in is people that don't want to rule over me, but want to assist me.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And this thought of ruling over people, that's what you call a dictatorship. That's what they have in other countries. Mm-hmm. And the thought that there's no filter on the other candidate, and he just says whatever he wants. And he's telling you, and he's already saying, when I win, I'm going to retaliate over anybody who didn't want me to be here.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah.
That's that whole sense of I want to rule over you. I want to take away your rights as a woman. I want to take away your rights to make decisions.
Absolutely.
I want to let me give the rights to corporate America and let them make decisions on how much money you make and how and where you go in life. I don't want to live like that. I want to be able to build my own small business and make my own money the way and work hard towards those goals.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
want my children to be able to do the same thing.
And listen, if you know, going by his quote, right, to make America great again, right? But that's already the world that we live in, right? It's already the world. Like let's not sugarcoat this. This is already what's happening. So he's not going to do anything
Well,
but
right.
elevate what's already going on, right?
It's the Tyreek Hill incident all over again.
Yeah,
It's Jim Crow all over again.
yeah,
It's because that's what they were saying. Black man, know your place. That's what they told him. You don't know your place. I'm going to show you your place. That's why I'm going to pull you out the car because I can. Because I rule over you.
Yeah.
That's what they said. That's what happened.
Because I can. That's right.
Because I can. Exactly.
Yeah.
That is not making America great any day of the week.
Yeah. And in other sad news,
right?
Actually, this one is great news for Princess Kate. She has finished her chemotherapy. She gave an update that she's done with chemotherapy. You know, that she had a rough road, that it was tough for her and her family, but you know, she is on the road to recovery. So we just want to just send our prayers and wishes out to her family. And glad that she is done with her chemotherapy, and hopefully she comes to a full recovery from that. So wanted to mention that.
Yes.
Amen. I agree.
Yeah, absolutely.
Continue healing. Continue healing.
Yeah, absolutely. And we know that she's a mom. You know, she has younger children.
Yeah,
she has little ones. So you know, it's nice that she is in recovery now and can spend time with her children and her husband and just, you know, go on to enjoy life, life in the palace.
I guess one of the things that I think about is those everyday things that we take for granted.
Yeah.
And even though probably everyone in this world has been touched by someone who has been dealing with any kind of cancer, but when you're in those moments, when you're having radiation and chemotherapy, you can't hug your children.
Right.
You can't hold them because you're constantly radiating.
Right.
And you don't think about that. You think about it as a patient, but a lot of us who have never had to do it, don't think about the things that you can't do outside of our regular things that we would want to do. But that's one of the things you want to do, and you can't.
Yeah.
Right. You could be in the room sometimes, but that hug, they're little babies, they're young.
Yeah.
You can't even hold them. So you know,
absolutely.
Thank God that she's at the point where those things will dissipate and she can have more time with them.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So true. Shima.
Yeah.
And then the sad news. It's all, you know, the sad news is that I killed this man last month.
Oh my gosh.
I do apologize.
Forgive her, Fem Talk.
I do it all the time. In my mind, I'm like, oh, he died last week. No, he didn't, Shima. He died today. Or sometimes
the voice. Now that is the voice.
Absolutely.
The voice.
Velvet voice. Oh my God.
Absolutely.
You hear his voice, and he, you know, they did so many. They did a nice, I guess, commentary on him. Tribute. That's the word. Tribute on Good Morning America, and he did so many great movies. I mean, anything he's been in. I've seen him in so many different things. Always love to see him in something. Oh, his presence, his voice. I mean, he's about the voice, but when he's on the screen, he's just as good. You know what I'm saying?
And the chuckle, that little chuckle is like, oh, it makes you feel good. It's like, oh my goodness.
Yeah.
He lived a long life in the goat. So
that's Mufasa. Mufasa. Got some kids that might be watching.
Simba.
Yeah. They just had that commanding presence and voice. Yeah.
Gonna miss him. Gonna miss him.
Absolutely.
Gonna definitely miss him.
So we're gonna take a quick commercial break, and then we're coming back to share our insights with the debate live, everyone.
It's like 5 minutes.
Disclaimer. The views and opinions expressed in this program are those of the individual speakers, commentators, guests, experts, and our host. They do not explicitly or necessarily reflect nor represent the network, broadcaster, channel, and/or program's policy or the views held by this network, broadcaster, channel, or program. The network, broadcaster, channel, or program cannot be held accountable for all or any views expressed during this program.
And we are back. Welcome back, everyone. We are so glad that you are here with us. Let's bring the ladies back in, and we are going to start with the debate. So it actually hasn't started just yet, but starting very shortly. So I was just listening to some of the commentary, and they were talking about Vice President Kamala Harris bringing America together against small and large cities. She says she wants to make sure that the country is strong and secure. So what are you both thinking about, this particular debate and some of her initiatives that she's been putting out there?
For me, I watched the Democratic convention and was I was looking for and waiting to hear who she was in regards to who she was going to be as a president. And, even though, people just assume just because you're a Democrat or just because she's a Black woman that you're just going to go, and immediately vote for her. And I was thoroughly impressed because she was about her business. She made it clear that she's going to be tough on crime. She made it clear that she is going after the guns, that she's looking for legislation to combat the different assault weapons, which they've already done some of it already, but they're looking to do much, much more. Obviously, her stance on women's rights is just absolutely on point. And her desire, I think the biggest one that a lot of people didn't see coming is her desire to make to give the middle class American ability to earn more money, to create their own way of living, and to reduce the cost it is to be a middle class American. And she was very specific about exactly what she wanted to do. She talked about creating new jobs. She talked about the jobs she wanted to create that she's already started to create in her current role as vice president. She talked about the different things she wants to do with the economy, how she wants to move and grow the economy, which they've already started doing. I think all of those things are how she wants to keep on building, building the infrastructure of the country on environmental issues, on the different things in terms of the bridges, all of the things that need to happen in this country that wasn't done under the leadership of 45. He didn't do any of that. He was 4 years. He was president. And I think one of the speakers said it best. It's like a bad boyfriend that you broke up with and they don't understand you don't want him back.
Yes.
Coming around.
Absolutely.
Strolling around the block, still trying to come to your house. No, it's over.
Yeah.
Call the police. You heard me. I stopped calling the police.
That obviously didn't do anything though. So
Right.
Like a bad boy, a bad one too.
Right.
Oh my God. The ones that knock on your door. I don't want to talk to you.
Can we talk for a minute? No. I think too, for me, it is all of the things, I'm always listening to what they're saying they're going to do. But for me, it's the undernotes or the undertones, because I feel like she feels like she has to repair us. Repair, not prepare. Repair us and restore our faith in the country and their ability, regardless of who it is, to act on what they say they're going to do. I think, and this could be me, this could be my own opinion, I think the thought of what 45 always says about making America great again sits in her mind on how can I execute on all these things that I know our country needs and still make it great, or make it great while I'm executing all of these tasks. I'm always thinking of, and I shouldn't, that's probably why I'm not the best candidate for president, but I'm more emotional when it comes to that, because there's not a whole lot of faith.
Yeah.
Let's be honest. Not a whole lot of faith in the Democrats. There's not a whole lot of faith in the Republicans. Everybody's at odds. You're worried. How do I provide for my family? How do I feel protected and safe in a country where I thought and I felt protected and safe at one time prior? And is that person going to do that for me?
Yeah. And I was just looking at, because I love real estate, and I was just looking at the housing market here in the state that I'm in North Carolina, and I was following kind of the trails there. The housing price has doubled here over the course of the last 5 years. That is tremendous, which means that your taxes then double, right? Because when the value of your house goes up, your taxes go up, right? So just to think about an area where 5 years, that's not a long time at all. And the income, that household income does not match that growth, right, in the housing market. So it's like people are at, a deficit when it comes to, how do I live? How do I even maintain a roof over my head? So I'm dying to hear, what these candidates have to say when it comes to, just like you said, I think Shima, you mentioned it, right? She's looking to do repair and recovery. And Melissa was talking about her initiatives because she's looking to make sure that the average American can actually live, right?
Right. Exactly. And I think that was the piece that and what I also heard was she didn't say we're going to make America great again. America is great, and that's what she was trying to. It's a privilege and an honor to live in the United States of America. Like, when did we fall off that this wasn't a great country to live in, to be able to have these freedoms? They talked about being free to do what you want to do, to raise your family, to hold a house, to buy a house, to earn, to create a small business. Those are the things she talked about, because America is great for that. We take immigrants in and allow them to to move on. So I think those are the things that she didn't correct that. She didn't make that statement, but she said, look, America is a great place to be in. I'm honored to be here.
Yeah. So let's watch now, because so that those young families. Let's
is the producer going to put a stream on?
Sales tax. No, we can just play in the background and we can comment as we're going along, but short and brief. We want to make sure it's short and brief until it goes to commercial.
Sales tax. Absolutely.
But just to stay engaged, and we would just say to everybody out there to put your questions, comments in the comment on the stream that you're following.
And his ideas about what should be the backs of middle-class people paying for tax cuts for billionaires.
President Trump, I'll give you 2 minutes.
First of all, I have no sales tax. That's an incorrect statement. She knows that. We're doing tariffs on other countries. Other countries are going to finally, after 75 years, pay us back for all that we've done for the world. And the tariff will be substantial in some cases. I took in billions and billions of dollars, as you know, from China. In fact, they never took the tariff off because there was so much money they can't. It would totally destroy everything that they've set out to do. They're taking in billions of dollars from China and other places. They've left the tariffs on. When I had it, I had tariffs, and yet I had no inflation. Look, we've had a terrible economy because inflation has, which is really known as a country buster. It breaks up countries. We have inflation like very few people have ever seen before, probably the worst in our nation's history. We were at 21%, but that's being generous because many things are 50, 60, 70, and 80% higher than they were just a few years ago. This has been a disaster for people, for the middle class, but for every class. On top of that, we have millions of people pouring into our country from prisons and jails, from mental institutions and insane asylums, and they're coming in and they're taking jobs that are occupied right now by African Americans and Hispanics, and also unions. Unions are going to be affected very soon. And you see what's happening. You see what's happening with towns throughout the United States. You look at Springfield, Ohio. You look at Aurora in Colorado. They are taking over the towns. They're taking over buildings. They're going in violently. These are the people that Xi and Biden led into our country, and they're destroying our country. They're dangerous. They're at the highest level of criminality, and we have to get them out. We have to get them out fast. I created one of the greatest economies in the history of our country. I'll do it again and even better.
We are going to get to immigration and border security during this debate, but I would like to let Vice President Harris respond on the economy here.
Well, I would love to. Let's talk about what Donald Trump left us. Donald Trump left us the worst unemployment since the Great Depression. Donald Trump left us the worst public health epidemic in a century. Donald Trump left us the worst attack on our democracy since the Civil War. And what we have done is clean up Donald Trump's mess. Yes. What we have done and what I intend to do is build on what we know are the aspirations and the hopes of the American people. But I'm going to tell you all in this debate tonight, you're going to hear from the same old tired playbook, a bunch of lies, grievances, and name calling. What you're going to hear tonight is a detailed and dangerous plan called Project 2025 that the former president intends on implementing if he were elected again. I believe very strongly that the American people want a president who understands the importance of bringing us together, knowing we have so much more in common than what separates us. And I pledge to you to be a president for all Americans.
President Trump will give you a minute to respond.
Number one, I have nothing to do, as you know, and as she knows better than anyone, I have nothing to do with Project 2025. That's out there. I haven't read it. I don't want to read it purposely. I'm not going to read it. This was a group of people that got together. They came up with some ideas. I guess some good, some bad. But it makes no difference. I have nothing to do. Everybody knows I'm an open book. Everybody knows what I'm going to do. Cut taxes very substantially and create a great economy like I did before. We had the greatest economy. We got hit with a pandemic. And the pandemic was since 1917, where 100 million people died. Has there been anything like it? We did a phenomenal job with the pandemic. We handed them over a country where the economy and where the stock market was higher than it was before the pandemic. Nobody's ever seen anything like it. We made ventilators for the entire world. We got gowns, we got masks, we did things that nobody thought possible. And people give me credit for rebuilding the military. They give me credit for a lot of things, but not enough credit for the great job we did with the pandemic. But the only jobs they got were bounce back jobs. These were jobs bounced back, and it went to their benefit. But I was the one that created them. They know it, and so does everybody else.
Vice President Harris, I'll let you respond.
So Donald Trump has no plan for you. And when you look at his economic plan, it's all about tax breaks for the richest people. I am offering described as an opportunity economy, and the best economists in our country, if not the world, have reviewed our relative plans for the future of America. What Goldman Sachs has said is that Donald Trump's plan would make the economy worse, mine would strengthen the economy. What the Wharton School has said is Donald Trump's plan would actually explode the deficit. 16 Nobel laureates have described his economic plan as something that would increase inflation and by the middle of next year would invite a recession. You just have to look at where we are and where we stand on the issues. And I'd invite you to know that Donald Trump actually has no plan for you because he is more interested in defending himself than he is in looking out for you.
That's just a soundbite to give her that to say. Look, I went to the Wharton School of Finance, and many of those professors, the top professors, think my plan is a brilliant plan. It's a great plan. It's a plan that's going to bring up our worth, our value as a country. It's going to make people want to be able to go and work and create jobs and create a lot of good, solid money for our country. And just to finish off, she doesn't have a plan.
Are they going to create black jobs?
Biden's plan. And it's like
exactly, because they're taking it away from us, the immigrants. The immigrants are taking our jobs away again, and he said it blatantly just now. He just now said it again.
She doesn't have a plan.
Mr. President, I do want to drill down on something you both brought up. The Vice President brought up your tariffs. You responded, and let's drill down on this, because your plan is what she calls is essentially a national sales tax. Your proposal calls for tariffs, as you pointed out here, on foreign imports across the board. You recently said that you might double your plan, imposing tariffs up to 20% on goods coming into this country. As you know, many economists say that with tariffs at that level, costs are then passed on to the consumer. Vice President Harris has argued it'll mean higher prices on gas, food, clothing, medication, arguing it costs the typical family nearly $4,000 a year. Do you believe Americans can afford higher prices because of tariffs?
They're not going to have higher prices. What's going to have, and who's going to have higher prices, is China and all of the countries that have been ripping us off for years. I was the only president ever. China was paying us hundreds of billions of dollars, and so were other countries. And, if she doesn't like them, they should have gone out and they should have immediately cut the tariffs. But those tariffs are there 3.5 years now under their administration. We are going to take in billions of dollars, hundreds of billions of dollars. I had no inflation, virtually no inflation. They had the highest inflation perhaps in the history of our country, because I've never seen a worse period of time. People can't go out and buy cereal or bacon or eggs or anything else. The people of our country are actually dying with what they've done. They've destroyed the economy. And all you have to do is look at a poll. The polls say 80 and 85 and even 90% that the Trump economy was great, that their economy was terrible.
Vice President Harris, I do want to ask for your response, and you heard what the president said there, because the Biden administration did keep a number of the Trump tariffs in place. So how do you respond?
Well, let's be clear that the Trump administration resulted in a trade deficit, one of the highest we've ever seen in the history of America. He invited trade wars. You want to talk about his deal with China? What he ended up doing is, under Donald Trump's presidency, he ended up selling American chips to China to help them improve and modernize their military, basically sold us out, when a policy about China should be in making sure the United States of America wins the competition for the 21st century, which means focusing on the details of what that requires, focusing on relationships with our allies, focusing on investing in American-based technology so that we win the race on AI, on quantum computing, focusing on what we need to do to support America's workforce so that we don't end up having on the short end of the stick in terms of workers' rights. But what Donald Trump did, let's talk about this, with COVID, is he actually thanked President Xi for what he did during COVID. Look at his tweet. Thank you, President Xi, exclamation point, when we know that Xi was responsible for lacking and not giving us transparency about the origins of COVID.
President Trump, I'll let you respond.
First of all, they bought their chips from Taiwan. We hardly make chips anymore because of philosophies like they have and policies like they have. I don't say her because she has no policy. Everything that she believed 3 years ago and 4 years ago is out the window. She's going to my philosophy now. In fact, I was going to send her a MAGA hat. She's going to my philosophy. But if she ever got elected, she'd change it. And it will be the end of our country. She's a Marxist. Everybody knows she's a Marxist. Her father's a Marxist professor in economics, and he taught her well.
Did we get off the topic?
When you look at what she's done to our country, and when you look at these millions and millions of people that are pouring into our country monthly, where it's, I believe, 21 million people, not the 15 that people say, and I think it's a lot higher than the 21. That's bigger than New York State pouring in. And just look at what they're doing to our country. They're criminals. Many of these people coming in are criminals. And that's bad for our economy, too. You know, you mentioned before, we'll talk about immigration later. Well, bad immigration is the worst thing that can happen to our economy. They have, and she has, destroyed our country with policy that's insane. Almost policy that you'd say they have to hate our country.
President Trump, thank you. Lindsay.
I want to turn to the issue of abortion. President Trump, you often touted that you were able to kill Roe v. Wade last year. You said that you were proud to be the most pro-life president in American history. Then last month, you said that your administration would be great for women and their reproductive rights. In your home state of Florida, you surprised many with regard to your 6-week abortion ban, because you initially had said that it was too short. And you said, quote, I'm going to be voting that we need more than 6 weeks. But then the very next day, you were course and said you would vote to support the 6-week ban. Vice President Harris says that women shouldn't trust you on the issue of abortion because you've changed your position so many times. Therefore, why should they trust you?
So the reason I'm doing that vote is because the plan is, as you know, the vote is, they have abortion in the 9th month. They even have, and you can look at the governor of West Virginia, the previous governor of West Virginia, not the current governor, who's doing an excellent job, but the governor before, he said the baby will be born and we will decide what to do with the baby. In other words, we'll execute the baby. And that's why I did that, because that predominates, because they're radical. The Democrats are radical in that. And her vice presidential pick, which I think was a horrible pick, by the way, for our country, because he is really out of it. But her vice presidential pick says abortion in the 9th month is absolutely fine. He also says execution after birth. It's execution, no longer abortion, because the baby is born, is okay. And that's not okay with me, hence the vote. But what I did is something for 52 years. They've been trying to get Roe v. Wade into the states. And through the genius and heart and strength of 6 Supreme Court justices, we were able to do that. Now, I believe in the exceptions for rape, incest, and life of the mother. I believe strongly in it. Ronald Reagan did also. 85% of Republicans do exceptions. Very important. But we were able to get it, and now states are voting on it. And for the first time, you're going to see, look, this is an issue that's torn our country apart for 52 years. Every legal scholar, every Democrat, every Republican, liberal, conservative, they all wanted this issue to be brought back to the states where the people could vote. And that's what happened. And now, Ohio, the vote was somewhat liberal. Kansas, the vote was somewhat liberal, much more liberal than people would have thought. But each individual state is voting. It's the vote of the people now. It's not tied up in the federal government. I did a great service in doing it. It took courage to do it. And the Supreme Court had great courage in doing it. And I give tremendous credit to those 6 justices.
There is no state in this country where it is legal to kill a baby after it's born. Madam Vice President, I want to get your response to President Trump.
Well, as I said, you're going to hear a bunch of lies, and that's not actually a surprising fact. Let's understand how we got here. Donald Trump hand-selected 3 members of the United States Supreme Court with the intention that they would undo the protections of Roe v. Wade.
Absolutely.
Right, that's right.
Exactly as he intended.
Absolutely.
And now in over 20 states, there are Trump abortion bans, which make it criminal for a doctor or nurse to provide health care. In one state, it provides prison for life. Trump abortion bans that make no exception even for rape and incest, which understand what that means. A survivor of a crime, a violation to their body, does not have the right to make a decision about what happens to their body next. That is immoral.
Yeah,
One does not have to abandon their faith or deeply held beliefs to agree. The government, and Donald Trump certainly, should not be telling a woman what to do with her body. I have talked with women around our country. You want to talk about this is what people wanted? Pregnant women who want to carry a pregnancy to term, suffering from a miscarriage, being denied care in an emergency room because their healthcare providers are afraid they might go to jail, and she's bleeding out in a car in the parking lot. She didn't want that. Her husband didn't want that. A 12 or 13-year-old survivor of incest being forced to carry a pregnancy to term. They don't want that.
No, they don't.
I pledge to you, When Congress passes a bill to put back in place the protections of Roe v. Wade, as President of the United States, I will proudly sign it into law. But understand, if Donald Trump were to be reelected, he will sign a national abortion ban. Understand, in his Project 2025, there would be a national abortion, a monitor that would be monitoring your pregnancies, your miscarriages. I think the American people believe that certain freedoms, in particular the freedom to make decisions about one's own body,
That's right.
should not be made by the
That's
government.
right.
That's right.
President.
Absolutely right.
It's a lie.
He talked about
Signing a ban, and there's no reason to sign a ban because we've gotten what everybody wanted. Democrats, Republicans.
everybody does not want that.
I want that. That's right.
I don't want that.
Wanted it to be brought
Every
up into the
legal
states, and the
scholar
states are
wanted it.
voting, and it may take a little time, but for 52 years, this issue
No,
has torn
Keep saying
our
52
country
years.
apart.
no, it
And they
hasn't.
wanted it back
He
in
gave
the
people
states.
rights. You do what you take the choice to do what you want. You want to carry a baby for 9 months, carry it. You
That's
don't,
right.
no choice.
That's right. Because before that, right before it, people wanted to get illegal abortions and dying, right? Or
That's right.
severe illnesses because they were trying to have these botched abortions.
Because again, two things. Number one,
Backseat abortions, back room abortions.
Right.
Especially now with the 50-50.
Him telling me what to do with my body. Absolutely not.
Yeah.
Him and his cronies. No.
Get the vote. You won't even come close to it. So it's just talk. You know what it reminds me of when they said they're going to get student loans terminated, and it ended up being a total catastrophe. The student loans, and then I think probably her boss
We're eliminated.
No, I was going to say that actually happened.
That happened.
Right.
and said, we'll do it again. We'll do it a different way. He went out, got rejected again by the Supreme Court. So all these students got taunted with this whole thing about this whole idea.
You mean his tuition for his college?
The reason they lost.
Did they have to pay back money for? Stop it.
They had to pay off their
He
student
criminally took money from people for his university. Stop it.
It's the same way that they talked about that they talk about abortion.
But if I could just get a yes or no, because your running mate, J.D. Vance, has said that you would veto it if it did come to your desk.
Well, I didn't discuss it with J.D. in all fairness. J.D., and I don't mind if he has a certain view, but I think he was speaking for me, but I really didn't. Look,
Answer the
we
question.
don't have to discuss it because she'd never be able to get it. Just like
We don't
she
have
couldn't
to
get
discuss
student
it.
loans, they couldn't get student
We
loans.
don't
They
have to
didn't get
discuss
close to getting student loans. They taunted young people and a lot of other people that had loans. They can never get this approved. So it doesn't matter what she says about going to Congress.
What she said, what do you
But
said?
the fact is that for years they wanted to get it out of Congress and out of the federal government, and we did something that everybody
Well,
said.
he's talking
Now
about
you have a vote of the people on abortion.
That's not true. The majority of Americans don't want this at all.
Any restrictions on a woman's right to an abortion.
I absolutely support reinstating the protections of Roe v. Wade. And as you
And she says it.
rightly mentioned, nowhere in America is a woman carrying a pregnancy to term and asking for an abortion. That is not happening. It's insulting to the women of America.
That's right.
And understand what has been happening
That's
under
right.
Donald Trump's abortion bans. Couples who pray and dream of having a family are being denied IVF treatments. What is happening in our country? Working people, working women who are working one or two jobs, who can barely afford childcare as it is, have to travel to another state to get on a plane sitting next to strangers to go and get the health care she needs. Barely can afford to do it, and what you are putting her through is unconscionable. And the people of America have not, the majority of Americans believe in a woman's right to make decisions about her own body. And that is why in every state where this issue has been on the ballot, in red and blue states both, the people of America have voted for freedom.
That's right.
Excuse me, I have to respect
Right.
another lie. Another lie.
Another lie.
Listen, we're gonna
It's
have
not a lie.
We're going to have to close out the show, but I think what she just said, what she talked about when it comes to the freedoms, right? I think that that's across the board, right? We want to make sure that we can keep our freedoms intact and to continue to get even more freedom, right? For certain cultures in this country.
That's
And we
right.
need to have that under the next presidency. So
Right.
we're going to have to close out the show. Make sure that you join
Make
us
sure
for
you
the
said
after show
right.
on YouTube. Join us on the after show. And Dr. Melissa, you can start us off on the after show because we have to close it out here. All right,
Okay.
everybody, we take care. We love you. Join us on the after show. You can see us on YouTube and on Facebook.